Hello guys, and welcome back to Stoneblock 3. Last episode we went ahead and automated our system over here in order to gather our dust, our sand, dirt, and gravel from a couple cobblestone generators, turning it into the required resources for us to then start to collect this. So between episodes I let a little bit more run. This has been running for a little while. So of these, and for this episode, I think what I want to tackle is start actually getting some building blocks for to build our base, make it look not so stony. And so for this, I have selected to use gray concrete and red concrete as well, specifically the smooth varieties as well as a grilled red concrete. I believe these items will give a very distinguished look, make it feel a little bit more sci-fi even in our base. And for these items we're gonna need a few things. The first thing is a mason's table, and there's our mason's workbench, which we can really place anywhere along the base. For now I'm just gonna place it here. Basically this object lets us put any sort of material that it accepts in, and it really gives us a very wide variety of the blocks. We also have the chisel mod present in the pack as well, but after investigating some blocks, I really like the look of this grilled concrete, as well as these smooth concretes in the red and gray varieties. The next step to go ahead and get our base looking good with these blocks is going to be the concrete itself. In order to make that, we're going to need a few things. The first thing is, well, sand, gravel, and the only additional is red dye. Afterwards, we can run it through bulk washing to turn the powder into the red concrete, and then put it in that mason's workbench that we just made in order to turn it into the grilled and smooth varieties. Now what we've decided to use in order to get our red dye from our concrete is beetroot. The beetroot is a 1-for-1 for a red dye, and as beetroot is farmable just like any plant, it means it's an unlimited resource. The next item that we're going to need in order to make this gray and red dye happen is obviously the gray dye itself. Gray dye can be crafted with black dye and white dye, which we're going to use the millstone, milling coal or charcoal, in order to get our black dye with an extra chance of gray dye. On the other hand, our white dye is easily going to be coming from this resource chest that we're generating with bone meal. We'll just craft this 1-for-1 from bone meal into white dye. And combining these resources, we will get our gray dye and be able to craft that into our gray concrete, which we'll be using to fancy up the base. So let us get started. Another thing we decided to do was kind of chop up our spawn point a little bit. I was hoping, since we were mining far enough away, that hopefully this would encourage passive animals to spawn. We used our only 2 grass seeds on this, hoping that that would help the grass grow. Another vital resource is string, and well, in this pack the only ways to farm string reliably is either a string chicken or sheep. And as we haven't had much luck with sheep yet, I decided to look into this spring chicken. For we would need a ink black chicken, which can be crafted with a little bit of black dye and an egg, and the log chicken, which is simply an egg and some logs. Placing our egg in the center and surrounding it with logs as the recipe states should yield us our log chicken. Upon checking the chest later, it turns out we have quite a bit of black dye, so I went ahead and crafted the ink chicken up as well. Our next issue is going to be actually getting the string chicken from the ink black and the log chicken. For this, we have to use chicken breeding, which is done in a breeder. The breeder requires 3 hay bales, 5 logs, and seeds. So for this, we are simply just going to expand our beetroot farm a little bit. After quickly dispatching that slime, we're able to return to our chicken breeder, put in our wheat seeds, and now the bar is ticking up. After a little bit of time, we can see that we were awarded a log chicken. Now, this isn't what exactly we were hoping for, but If we take a look at the string chicken, there's only a 20% chance every function that this will actually give us what we want. Upon further research, I noticed that we will want a roost. This is what we put our chickens in order for them to farm our resources. We could always place them on the ground as well, but this is a little cheaper by way of space and also a little bit more mobile. We now have our farms going. Our tree farm is plowing away, and our other farm for our beetroot and our wheat is just chugging along. After letting our farm run just a little longer, we were finally able to get the required resources in order to make the roost. Afterwards, we got our string chicken and we placed them on into the roost. After a few more crafts, we were on our way to starting our automation of our base resources. So after further investigation of some of the resources that we needed, it quickly turned out that we needed to go venturing. And this meant digging. At one point we even broke into what looked to be a dungeon, but as we had our mission at foot, I decided the best would be to just keep moving forward and ignore it until we needed resources from it. After running almost 800 blocks, not once but twice, I decided that we might want to start investing in a teleportation method. Upon further investigation, the mechanism teleporters look to be the best. I've used the portable teleporter before as well as the teleporter, and from my past experience, the teleporter does not require power to teleport to as long as you are using the portable teleporter. However, this would be quite an expensive recipe. We'd have to delve into mechanism and get some metallurgic infusers set up, as well as find a way for obsidian. However, when compared to this insanely long run that we have to make, and we're not even at the nether yet, I can only imagine how far out we'd have to go. So I think teleporters is a good next step for us. So for now with mechanism, I opted for just a very simple heat generator setup. This should create enough power for us at the moment, and really, as we expect a better power source in the future, this is just going to be a temporary solution and will most likely be moved to a different location after we're done with it. After a little bit of time had passed, we'd actually gotten our enrichment chamber and our 3 metallurgic infusers set up, and actually started the process of making steel, which would be the first thing we needed to do to start working towards those teleporters. The steel would come in handy for other machines, as well as each teleporter requiring 4 machine frames. Each machine frame themselves also required 4 steel. So in order to make a handful of these teleporters, we would need a lot of steel. A quick and dirty way that I found to actually start making obsidian, which would be another resource we needed in this process, was to take 2 buckets of lava and a bucket of water. So we use our little stick thing on stone and go ahead and throw it in the smeltery. With this, it would make 1 obsidian block per bucket of lava, and really started to magnify our production of obsidian quite greatly after figuring out this method. Alright, we got our energy cube, which is being powered by our heat exchangers, and as you can see, it is quite efficient for producing power. And so now our next step towards getting our portable teleporter is to start looking into this teleportation core. But it needs reinforced alloy, which takes obsidian, and it's really quite the process. But it'll be well worth it once we're done. And there are 6 teleportation cores. The next step is to go ahead and make some steel frames, basic control circuits, and also get this portable teleporter done. And then we can finally start on our path out again. One additional thing that we were able to do was, as we had all the machines set up, I went ahead and made some refined obsidian. This refined obsidian is stronger than diamond and would allow us the protection to hopefully stay alive while venturing in the nether in the end, as I am not quite sure what to expect when going that far out. And here is our portable teleporter. Alright, now with our 5 teleportation cores, 20 steel casings, and 20 basic control circuits, we can go ahead and craft 5 teleporters. And now our portable teleporter is fully charged, so all we have to do is place our teleporter on the ground. We'll go ahead and make a private network and title it home. And we can use this, select it, set it, and there we go. We teleported for a small energy cost from our portable teleporter, but besides that, it was free. So now we gotta run back along the path that we previously made, set up a few of these, and get digging towards the nether in the end once again. Alright, we've gotten to our first location, which I would like to set up a teleporter. So once again, going to put it down and set this as overworld dungeon. Or maybe we'll just do dungeon for short. We go ahead and check that, and there it goes. So now we should be able to teleport between home and dungeon at a click of a button. And it looks like we've hit the first layer of ore generation. So at this layer, we should get anything between limestone, diorite, and granite. Maybe some calcite as well. But ores will also generate. So there's our first ore of the pack. Now that we have gotten a decent area into the, let's say, ore area, I'm going to go ahead and place a teleporter here. We're going to go ahead and name this one ores. And there we go. Now we only have one left for the nether and one left for the inn. This will hopefully help our travel time, as we are almost 1,000 blocks away from home. And running in a straight line is not very eventful. Next stop, the nether. And there's our first bit of netherrack. We seem to be entering the fragmented field of netherrack and stone, so it won't be long now until we have entered the nether. It looks as if we have broken into some sort of nether fortress of some kind. I'm not too familiar with what's going on past this stage, but woof. All I know is it doesn't seem very safe. So let's go ahead and get this lava blocked off and dump some of our inventory. We will be setting down one of our teleporters here, though, as we are very clearly at the nether fortress. I did think that we do have that teleporter very close by, so let's go ahead and use our current one. Go ahead and teleport back on home. We're going to throw that warm crystal in there. And otherwise, I believe I need another chest, so let's go ahead, get a little bit of wood, craft that up, dump our inventory, and go back to digging. So one fatal flaw I made is that the chunk where our teleporter is in has to be chunk loaded. And as it is not, we can't teleport there. So to fix that, we don't particularly seem like we have a solution. So after thinking about it a little bit more, I did remember that we could use these anchor upgrades in order to keep our teleporters loaded. So I'm going to make probably about 4 of those and head back on out. 1, 2, 3. And we have reached the end. We're starting to break through the crumble and get to pure end stone. Once I harvest enough of this, I'll be headed back to base to continue our block factory. The original goal of this episode. And here is our last anchor upgrade. Let's go ahead and make sure to set this as the end. And back home we go. So the first step with all this endstone is actually a little bit of a roundabout one. We want to go ahead and compress it and actually crush it. It's a little bit non-standard crushing endstone, I know, but it's the first step in the process. So let's go ahead and compress it as many times as we can. Less blocks to break, the better. Put it down and proceed to the next step. So the next step after getting all this endstone crushed is to go ahead and throw it into our washer. This will slowly wash the endstone, giving us a variety of end drops, but the main one that we're after is the ender pearls. And if we open up this chest, you can see as they come in, ender pearls, some chorus fruit, and it looks like ender slime crystals as well. So for those of you unaware, the mod I want to use is Flux Networks. The only thing is we have to have access to bedrock, which unfortunately means we have to yet start another dig. I've already made the ladders, and it's about time to get started. Interesting note, I decided to make a pickaxe in order to dig through the cobblestone or the deep slate down to the bottom a little quicker, and the repairs talisman does not affect Tinker's construct tools. And we have finally reached bedrock. It was quite the journey to get down here, but with the help of our new pickaxe, it made quick work of it. And we also got deep slate, which I know the crushed variety is used for, looks like uranium and uranite from power. So this could definitely be a good source of power moving forward after we move past those heat generators. So the next step for our ambitions is to go ahead and do that. So now we have 2 stacks of flux dust, which we can now use to make more or less a source of wireless power. So let me get back up to the base and get started on our new source of wireless power. One nether trip, and I will say almost a death later, we returned home with a little bit of blaze powder and some various loot from the fortress, including a common mystery box, which gave us lapis, and a gas tier. 3 gas tiers, in fact, which is quite the handy find. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do is craft all of our ender pearls into eyes of ender, followed by flux cores. And then this is where it gets a little interesting. So the first thing we want to do is, well, make a flux plug. But for that, we need to make a flux block, and then we can craft our flux plug. So this object here, you connect it to a energy source, and it sends power out throughout your flux network. Next thing we're going to want to craft is actually a few redstone blocks, as the flux point, the counter object to this, requires redstone blocks around this. So now we end up with 7 flux points, which we can use to, as it says, provide energy to adjacent blocks when connecting over the flux network. We got a little grenade there. So this has been configured to a network, and we have to configure this to output on the top, and our flux network should be getting power. So we should be able to use these flux points anywhere around our base and have power there at the snap of a finger. Well guys, it appears that I might have bit off more than I could chew for this one episode. We were able to get these 2 auto farms set up, as well as getting our XNet things crafted, as well as flux networks. But it looks like setting up our block factory and actually starting to make a decent looking base is going to have to wait till next episode. Anyways, thank you everybody for watching, and have a good one.